My sister-in-law's scheme. Backfires, jail, divorce, and a shocking revelation. After my pregnancy announcement, my sister-in-law's plot to humiliate me at my husband's party spectacularly backfired, landing her in jail and facing a divorce. 4. The past 7 years, I, 29F, have been happily married to Harry. The only real challenge in our relationship has been his sister Kayla, who seems to bring negativity wherever she goes. Don't get me wrong, when I first met Kayla, I genuinely liked her. But over time, my opinion drastically changed. She's manipulative, toxic, and incredibly negative. Despite knowing her true colors, I tried for years to stay on her good side. Harry actually dated Kayla's best friend when he was 17, but they broke up because he felt pressured by Kayla to be with her. Later, when Harry was 23 and single, Kayla suggested he date another one of her friends. He declined, and she ran crying to their parents, demanding he marry someone she felt comfortable with. Thankfully, his parents largely ignored her. When Harry and I started dating and fell in love, his parents were incredibly supportive. Kayla, however, always treated me coldly. She'd constantly bring up Harry's exes for no reason, reminding him how well they were doing and suggesting he reconnect with them. This went on for a while. Even Harry found it strange and asked her to stop. But then Kayla would get furious, mock me, claim I was jealous, and say Harry shouldn't be with someone like me. She'd even deliberately invite Harry's exes to family dinners, claiming she'd inadvertently run into them. Though she doesn't follow me directly, she constantly checks my public Instagram account, often being the first to view my stories. If a man commented on my photo, she'd immediately complain to Harry about me posting indecent images. Harry and I would just laugh it off. When Harry and I decided to move in together, Kayla tried to persuade him to break up with me, saying I had many defects as a woman and that she could find him someone far better. This comment, especially since I'd always been kind to her, really hurt me. Sadly, Kayla's behavior worsened significantly after Harry and I got engaged. When we announced our engagement, everyone cheered, but Kayla was oddly quiet. Then, to everyone's surprise, she jumped up and left the gathering. She later called Harry, sobbing and yelling about how she felt she was closest to him and deserved to be the first to know. After that, she sent me a nearly threatening message, advising me on how to treat her brother as she had always been the only female in his life. I almost shuddered. I left her message on read, which I'm sure offended her even more. From then on, Kayla progressively ignored me whenever she saw me. For some reason, she still involved herself in all our wedding preparations, even coming to dress shopping and my bridal shower, despite both my future mother-in-law and Harry calling her out on it multiple times. Her criticism of the wedding reached a new level, as she freely expressed her unhappiness with my choices. One day, Kayla overheard me discussing centerpieces with my future mother-in-law. She immediately started mocking my decision, stating it had no class, and that this was why she wanted her brother to marry someone better. That was my breaking point. I lost it. I made it clear she was no longer invited to our wedding and yelled that I couldn't stand her constant taunting and criticism anymore. Kayla was shocked, gasping in surprise, as if she never expected me to challenge her. Even my mother-in-law, who backed me, was infuriated by Kayla's behavior. Later, Kayla called Harry, complaining about how I'd embarrassed her and insisting he control me since I would be his wife. Harry strongly insisted he supported my choice and that she wouldn't be invited to the wedding if she didn't atone. Grudgingly, she texted me a sincere apology. I saw it and once again left it on read. I was exhausted from wedding preparations and wanted nothing to do with her drama. In the end, she did attend our wedding because I didn't want her criticizing us afterward. Everyone, including the guests, seemed to have no problem following the pink tones and pastels chosen for our wedding. But Kayla arrived looking like she was attending a funeral, a black floor-length gown with a veil. To say we were stunned was an understatement. She went around sharing her grief at losing her brother to another woman. Harry approached her about her inappropriate attire at the reception, but she insisted she had the right to wear whatever she chose, and that I was too domineering. When her nonstop scene-making persisted, my mother-in-law and father-in-law finally ordered her to leave. It was incredibly embarrassing for me. Ever since that day, I avoid her. When I delivered my son, Nate, I forbade Kayla from being anywhere near him. She tried to object, but Harry's parents had my back. They supported my choice and understood exactly why I wanted Kayla far from my infant. 2 years ago, Kayla suffered a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie, and it completely shattered her. It was a truly depressing time for everyone, especially given our already childbearing status. Harry and I felt bad for her. We decided to be somewhat more lenient after her miscarriage. So, despite her past behavior with me, we would welcome her to our house so she could connect with our son, Nate. She was surprisingly lovely to our son at first, which was genuinely shocking. She seemed to have changed, but over time she reverted to her former self. She constantly talks about how difficult her life is, how things never seem to go her way, and blames ex-friends or managers for upsetting her life. I've found over time that she is never wrong in her thinking. She's always attempting to get people on her side by playing the victim and hardly acknowledges any flaws in confrontations. This year, she decided to get married and invited everyone, leading us to believe our relationship had improved. Harry was surprised to learn we weren't invited. When we questioned her, she began to explain how she wouldn't let me come because I would cause a disturbance at her wedding, even though I'd never done anything of the sort. I called and asked her why she'd think something like that. Kayla then admitted she had deliberately dressed in all black for our wedding, so now she was worried I might do the same, which is why she wanted me off-site. I told my husband straightforwardly about how manipulative she was, and he was outraged. After discussing it with his parents, Harry decided to let Kayla know they would neither be attending the wedding nor paying for it. This sent Kayla into tears, and she began to blame me for starting this disaster. Her husband told her she had no right to point fingers at me as she had freely admitted her own error. Kayla, however, tried to explain her behavior by saying I should just get over it since our wedding was long ago. Later, she contacted me to apologize and asked for forgiveness, as his parents were still not paying for her wedding. Though I hate to say it, Kayla can be quite charming and convincing when she wants something. I wanted to move past it and forgave her. Her wedding to Jamie went perfectly. We all showed up and had fun. Not even 6 months later, Kayla appeared at our door, grumbling about her failing marriage. For a few days, Harry and I let her stay with us, where she would spend endless hours venting about her husband. They appeared to be struggling to conceive, and Kayla was obviously blaming Jamie for everything. When I went to speak to Kayla, she insisted it was entirely her husband's responsibility. When she wasn't complaining about her husband, she'd become hyper-focused on our lives and try to create problems that didn't exist. For instance, usually every morning before heading to work, I go to the gym. When I'm running late, I occasionally grab my work clothes so I can finish my workout, shower, and change into my business attire. Kayla observed this for some time and would have many questions about it, including why I was bathing or why I even needed to visit the gym. I didn't give it much thought and would tell her how I liked maintaining my weight and how I disliked going to the office all sweaty. She would nod and lick her lips. During lunch, my mother-in-law was telling us about a friend of hers who was divorcing. Her friend had left her husband and taken half his assets after discovering his adultery. Kayla abruptly stopped her to ask my husband whether he and I had signed a prenup before we were married. We paused to stare at her, our meal forgotten. She glanced at my husband expectantly, as if I wasn't even there. Harry told her straightforwardly, in no uncertain terms, that since he and I both made good money, we felt no need for a prenup. Kayla snorted and began to say he could be blindsided any day, and that cheats abound today. Her statements offended me, so I asked her to clarify exactly what she meant. Kayla then began to remark how I was obviously meeting someone, as I was usually carrying a change of clothing everywhere, and that as Harry's sister, it was her obligation to warn her brother. These were shocking remarks. My father-in-law and mother-in-law immediately stepped in to stop her from fabricating such things and advised she shouldn't interfere with others' affairs. Without missing a beat, Kayla continued to emphasize how she was only trying to be there for her brother and began to joke if our son Nate was indeed Harry's son, since he didn't quite look like him. I swear I saw the redness of wrath on my husband's face. I had never seen him this enraged. Looking Kayla squarely in the eye, he informed her that she was not a mother yet, as she did not deserve to be one, and that her child would be better off in paradise than with someone like her. Kayla's lips hung in stunned disbelief. My mother-in-law and father-in-law simply watched silently as my husband continued, complaining about her being a shameless person, trying to ruin everything since her life had nothing to offer, calling her merely a loser who did nothing all day while her husband worked nonstop. He kept saying that since she was plainly projecting, she should focus on her own marriage instead of pointing fingers at me and asking about prenups. Reduced to tears, Kayla began to wail. Expecting comfort, she turned to Jamie, seated just next. To her, but he never spoke. My husband never has this kind of mental breakdown. She eventually got up from her chair and dashed into the restroom. My husband was boiling over. I stroked his hand, and my mother-in-law arrived to cool him down, understanding just how annoying Kayla could be. I nodded as he apologized for what his sister had said about our son. Having taken enough from Kayla over the years, I was somewhat relieved that my husband stood up for me so publicly. He apologized to Jamie, but totally ignored Kayla. That day, following lunch, we returned to no interaction with Kayla. Her actions were impacting my husband, in addition to me. We simply barred her from everything. After lunch, my mother-in-law and father-in-law spoke with us and decided Kayla had gone too far this time. They could see how their usually quiet son had gone wild after Kayla had persisted in pushing him. We last spoke with her a year ago, and everything has been running without problems. 2 months ago, I discovered I was expecting, given our lack of effort. This was quite unexpected. To welcome another family member makes my husband and me blessed. We decided to let everyone know on my husband's birthday, as we were waiting for the proper moment to do so. Wanting to honor Harry, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were throwing a big celebration in their yard, inviting our close friends and relatives. Kayla chose to show her face after hearing about this from others. When we saw her, my husband and I staggered. Coming to hug Harry, Kayla told him how much she had missed him and how sorry she was for their last talk. Taking my hand, Harry advised his sister to apologize to me because she had pointed fingers at my character. Kayla nodded, looked at me, then apologized. She informed me how she had been attending therapy for the previous few months and came to see how inappropriate it was for her to treat me like that. Though I disagreed with everything she said, I nodded as I wanted to be polite to her in front of everyone, since this was a gathering for my husband. My mother-in-law and father-in-law checked in on us and informed us that should we feel uncomfortable, they would kick her out, as they had no knowledge she would be arriving. Harry, however, insisted on not creating a scene, hence we decided to let this go. It seemed strange as Kayla was laughing and socializing with everyone during the celebration. She mentioned visiting a therapist, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, even though she appeared overly optimistic, completely not her nature. Harry spoke movingly about how he thought he was the luckiest man on earth, appreciative of yet another year spent with a lady like me. When it came time to cut the cake, his remarks made me flush with delight. We felt just like when we first started dating all those years ago. I couldn't help but appreciate the fact that my husband and I were still intensely in love. Then Harry and I made the decision to let everyone know some fantastic news. Grinning, we said we were having a baby. Everyone paused, then yelled in delight. My mother rushed up to hug me and started to cry as my father-in-law saluted Harry and myself, tears streaming down his face. Everyone was eager to know whether we had chosen baby names and was clearly delighted for us. Kayla was the one sore thumb that stood out. She seemed stunned. Her mood changed, and she simply turned away from us, appearing irritated. So I assumed maybe she was processing things slowly, though I was a little concerned, thinking she would ruin yet another party. For us, I was sidetracked with other individuals approaching to chat. I got up to assist my in-laws carry lunch, but Harry and my parents begged me to stay seated, telling me I shouldn't even move at this point. Kayla approached me beaming as I was calmly waiting for my husband to bring me a meal. Lively, she said, that she personally wanted to offer me dinner since she was so excited about my pregnancy. She handed me a dish. She even said, as she passed me the plate, how she wanted to make it up to me for all the time she had been nasty to me in the past. I nodded and politely approved. She then turned to go. I was ready to start digging in when I fortunately found she had put shrimp on my dish. I know I am quite allergic to shrimp, hence I was surprised Kayla even brought me this. Disappointed, I shook my head and got up to get my own lunch. Jamie approached me at that point to wish me well on my pregnancy. After a little conversation, he asked me why I hadn't been eating. After I pointed out how Kayla had served me shrimp, probably by error, Jamie reassured me not to worry and removed the dish from my hands. Since he enjoyed eating shrimp, he told me he could have this dish and I could buy a fresh plate for myself. I nodded, grinned, then turned aside. 5 minutes later, Jamie began to vomit and retch across this dish. Concerned, everyone stopped, eating, and watched him stagger to get out of his seat. Concerned, Harry and Kayla hurried towards him. Jamie gestured at his plate, then at his throat. Our eyes grew wide with amazement as we realized what he had eaten definitely made something wrong with him. Jamie passed out, then everyone gasped in amazement and worry. Kayla hurried over to examine his dish, and her eyes grew shocked. She turned to stare at me and inquired whether I had handed her husband my plate. I nodded. Someone called for an ambulance amid the tumult, and he was hurried to the hospital. Through all of this, Kayla was sobbing non-stop and was staring angrily at me. Jamie had been poisoned, we were told later on. Knowing that the plate belonged originally to me, I nearly passed out upon hearing this. Jamie consumed what may have poisoned my baby and me. Harry, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, or my parents don't yet know this since nobody knew what was in the food he consumed that had caused him to faint in this manner. The police were summoned to get evidence from it. Jamie is still recovering in the hospital while I'm typing this. Kayla stayed with him overnight. My husband and I are fielding calls from relatives calling to find out what happened to Jamie, and who might have poisoned him. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are shaken by what has transpired. They are sleeping over at our house, since they are terrified to return back to their house. Nobody knows what happened abruptly while everything was going so nicely. Telling everyone that the plate originally belonged to me and how Kayla had come and presented it to me makes me terribly afraid. Should this evolve into an inquiry, I will have to tell the cops the truth. Though most importantly, I am now rather concerned about what Kayla could do to me. I feel quite awful about what has transpired. I don't want to be around her, nor can I bring my kids anywhere close to her, as she obviously has no restraints about trying to poison me. I feel bad about handing Jamie my meal and maybe contaminating my baby. Update 1 Whoa, thanks for the thousands of comments on this post in just a few hours. I never would have guessed. I could have received this many answers. I typed this earlier with shaking hands. I haven't been able to sleep. Though what everyone says, I do feel somewhat accountable for the event involving Jamie. I should have simply tossed the dish away. I'm not sure why I let him grab it from me. I keep crying about his future, knowing something is off. My hubby has been hovering close to me. Though he doesn't know what I know about his sister, he believes I'm only worried. I agree with the comment saying I should sit down and gently chat to everyone. Although I'm not sure if everyone will believe me, my mother-in-law and father-in-law do have security cameras set all around the house. Given that this birthday celebration took place in their backyard, I am confident they could check and confirm via their camera that Kayla presented me the plate. I'll speak with everyone tonight, then update. Update 2, we then chatted, and I am very happy to have the nicest in-laws on planet Earth. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are already staying over with us, so I sat down with Harry and them over dinner to let them know I had something crucial to share. I began by inhaling deeply, the weight of the circumstances slumping on my shoulders. Everyone gathered around. I related the birthday party's events, including how Kayla had handed me a plate of prawns and Jamie had unintentionally consumed it, causing his sickness. Their shock and incredulity reflected my own as I spoke. My mother-in-law and father-in-law looked at each other, clearly worried. Harry's face transformed from uncertainty to rage. I went on, expressing my concern about Kayla's intentions and past attempts to hurt me. Faced with the possible repercussions for myself and our unborn child, I hesitated to share this material. Being the pragmatic woman my mother-in-law is, she advised right away looking at the security camera tape. Given the gravity of the matter, my father-in-law nodded in agreement, though clearly unsettled. Harry stayed quiet to process the startling disclosure. Reviewing the security footage from their camera app, the truth was indisputable. The video shows Kayla presenting to me the poisoned plate, and then what happened to cause Jamie's suffering. The weight of the data left no room for uncertainty. As the knowledge sank in, emotions ran strong. Now totally aware of his sister's evil intentions, Harry battled to control his wrath. Their daughter's activities horrified my mother-in-law and father-in-law, who also found the extent she had gone to cause disturbance shocking. Stunned in silence, we tried to figure out why she would act in such a manner. Given this is a very serious issue, my in-laws have opted to forward this material to the police. Following this disclosure, Jamie is the one who has to lodge charges on Kayla. Hence, my father-in-law and my husband will be visiting and meeting him after he recovers. I want to cry every time I consider how I let Jamie have my poisoned dish. I have no idea how Jamie will react. I am very anxious about him, so I cannot eat anything right or sleep. I will let you know about anything noteworthy. Update 3. All right, folks, I'm back with an update at last, although I know it has been a month since my previous update. Right now, I'm a pregnant woman experiencing a lot. First things first, she was detained after seeing the proof my in-laws handed the recording to the police. Kayla admitted everything right away and did not even dispute the claims. She started crying. Jamie was as startled as any of us when my husband approached him about what had transpired. My husband told him he would always be a part of our family, regardless of what he decided to do. My husband advised him to press charges against his sister since this was such a wicked thing to do. Once Jamie recovered, he not only chose to prosecute charges, but also sought divorce. Emotional and begging them to pardon her, Kayla called my mother-in-law and father-in-law. As it happens, Kayla is pregnant herself. She tried to manipulate them by telling them they should do this for the benefit of their granddaughter, begging them to bail her out. My father-in-law strongly advised her, nevertheless, that she should at last learn to own her actions and that they were done coddling her. Though my mother-in-law is quite depressed about what is happening to her daughter, she knows that her actions cannot be simply forgiven. The cops discovered proof she had tampered with the meal meant to damage me, which backfired and resulted in injury to her husband. She has been charged with several offenses, including risking life, causing damage, and tampering with food, thereby compromising integrity. Saying how this was all my fault anyhow, Kayla had been pleading Jamie not to charge her. Fortunately, Jamie's mind is set on punishing her. Her court hearing will begin shortly. I doubt she can escape this time. My son and I are doing okay to everyone inquiring. In the meantime, about what his aunt has done, he is clueless. We want our son to know and avoid these circumstances. Hence, Harry and I have discussed, and we do intend to sit down with him and tell him the truth. Having a difficult but absolutely vital conversation with a young child will be challenging but essential. As instructed by my doctor, I also get frequent ultrasounds for my pregnancy every 2 weeks. We want the kid to be a surprise, hence we do not intend to find out her gender. Knowing what has happened to Kayla, my parents have been somewhat protective of me. They are urging me to see treatment since they are concerned this could compromise my psychological well-being during the pregnancy. I agree with them, as while behaving normally, I have a deep-rooted phobia of what Kayla did to my meals and avoid eating any outside food or anything I have not made myself. Hopefully my husband will help me to overcome this illogical phobia, as he knows about it and supports me all through. Update 4. I last checked 8 months ago. Kayla is a prisoner right now. She was found guilty on the allegations. Though I never went to her court hearings, occasionally my in-laws would tell me how Kayla came clean to the court, admitting years of jealousy of me. She had always dreamed of one of her best friends marrying my husband. Hence, when he started dating me, she would always try to harass me since she never wanted an outsider to marry her brother. She became jealous when we told at my husband's birthday party we were expecting, as she was also going to reveal her pregnancy. She wanted to share her wonderful news since she had miscarried once, but she felt we stole her opportunity to shine. She became so enraged then from her pregnancy hormones, mixed a little bit of rat poison with my supper. She said she wanted me to wind up in the hospital, but she never wanted to physically hurt the baby or myself. She said she deserved a reduced punishment as she never expected me to offer her husband my plate, and since I essentially poisoned her spouse. Of course, the judge answered her pleadings. She was put to prison and will be far from our life for some considerable while. Jamie is also at last free since she has also effectively divorced him. We have seen him over the months and keep including him into our family events whenever we can. He informed me that it was never my fault when we spoke, and I profusely apologized to him for handing my plate to him, hearing that I had been rehearsing it over and over again in my thoughts, wishing I could have done things differently so he was never poisoned. I started to cry. That Jamie is doing well right now makes me happy. Regarding Harry and myself, our family now boasts a baby daughter. Our daughter's presence has warmed and lit our life, despite the shadows of the past still being there. Being a big brother makes our son Nate very happy, and he has been loving and caring toward his little sister. Seeing our kids connect makes us appreciate things. My parents and in-laws have been there for us all through, guiding us through this new phase of our life.